Yes, I would like to discuss that Bhagavad Gita is certainly not for everybody. And the important thing I'd like to stress over here, that you are always taught by most of your teachers that go and preach Bhagavad Gita, go and tell everybody about Bhagavad Gita. So I want to tell you that that is not what Bhagavad Gita says. That is not what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. In fact, Krishna clearly indicates that you must not talk about Bhagavad Gita and the message of Krishna to a certain group of people. And I would say perhaps those are the majority. The Bhagavad Gita is a seminal text of Krishna Bhakti. It belongs to the library of Vaishnava scriptures. It is certainly not meant for non-Vaishnavas, and it is definitely not meant for those who do not recognize Krishna. Why am I saying this? Because Bhagavad Gita is such a powerful text and such a popular text that even those who in their own so-called scriptures speak against Krishna, they will celebrate Janmashtami. They will speak about Krishna. They will talk about Bhagavad Gita. Even though their own scriptures or their own so-called scriptures are denying Krishna. And there are several organizations like this. And there are several philosophical trends like this. There are those who will tell you that, oh, Krishna is just another man who has attained spiritual perfection. That's not what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna clearly declares himself as God. And Arjuna also clearly declares that he is God, as declared by various sages and saints of his time. He also reveals his cosmic universal form, which no one can reveal. But still, people will try to begin with Bhagavad Gita and then interject their philosophy within it and ultimately say, oh, there is nothing, we are all one. We are all one. You are also Krishna, I am also Krishna. And once you realize that you are Krishna, then you will be like me because I am just like Krishna. So these are all the kinds of people you will meet, yes, even in spiritual life. So therefore, I especially wanted you to learn about this in a special session on why you should not discuss Bhagavad Gita with everybody and why you should not hear Bhagavad Gita from everybody. Allegorically, the example of people who make much of Bhagavad Gita and Krishna and then finally try to annihilate him and say, oh, everything is Brahman, Krishna is not there. Although Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that he is Brahmano hi pratishtaham. He is the source, he is the root, he is the support of Brahman. These kind of people are compared allegorically, Krishna's pastimes, to Putana the witch. So these Putana people, like Putana, will tell you they also are devotees of Krishna. I will teach you Bhagavad Gita. But actually their aim is to destroy your faith in Krishna, and their aim is to actually get rid of the whole Bhagavad Gita. And then they'll take you. I'll take you to a higher scripture. There is no scripture higher than Bhagavad Gita. So, in fact, if you read the Bhagavad Gita, you will get adequate instruction, not from me, not from any other teacher, but you will get instruction from the Bhagavad Gita itself and from the supreme teacher. That is, you will get instruction from Krishna. So, right in the earlier part of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks in the 7th chapter, text 15, and he tells Arjuna that there are four kinds of people who will never come to me, who will never surrender to me. Krishna is pointing out in the previous verse that Daiviyasa gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mam eva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. So Krishna is pointing out to Arjun that this Prakriti with these three modes, these three gunas, is very difficult to overcome. And only those who have surrendered to me can transcend and overcome them. So, to understand who will not come to Krishna and who you should not waste your time on and who will unnecessarily shake your faith, please remember that faith is the currency of the spiritual world. If you go to US, you have the US dollar. If you go to Australia, you have the Australian dollar. If you go to UK, you have the pound. In France, you have the franc. In India, you have the rupee. But in the spiritual world, you have only one currency, and that currency is that currency of faith. And you must look to increase your faith at every opportunity. And by associating with those who have great faith, you will also acquire great faith. And the one who has the most faith, he is very close to Krishna. And those who do not have faith, they are not supposed to hear Bhagavad Gita. So in the 7th chapter, text 15, Krishna clearly states, who are the people who do not surrender to him? Na mam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradama mayaya partajnana asaram bhavam ashritaha. There are these duskritina, those who are miscreants, who will never surrender to Krishna. The first is the mudha. The mudha is the fool. And with the fool, most certainly, you will get nowhere because he's a fool, he's a donkey, he's a donkey, he's an idiot. So, being a mudha, he will never surrender to God, let alone to Krishna. Similarly, he says, Nar Adhamaha. There are 800 types of human beings, 800 classes of human beings. This is declared in our scripture. And Naradama are those who are lowest among mankind. They are those people who are just one step above animalhood. They follow no laws of the land, they follow no laws of society, they follow no morals, they follow no ethics. They not only are harmful to people around them, their behavior is even harmful to themselves. So they're engaged in rape and pillage, they're engaged in thefts and robbery and violence. They are engaged in taking drugs of various sorts, including intoxicants that include alcohol and cocaine, and they are lowest among mankind. Such people will never ever surrender to God unless they are free from all this. And therefore, you should never waste your time talking about the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna. Then Krishna says, there is the Maya Partha. What is the Maya Partha? Maya Partha is one whose intelligence has been stolen by Prakriti. Intelligence, of course, is Prakriti's. And this intelligence is used by us to work our way through this world of Prakriti until you are realized, until you are Krishna realized, when God will guide you along your way. Until then, we often depend on our intelligence to guide us through. But in order to surrender that to Krishna, we have to surrender our intelligence also, because it is through surrender that we attain divinity. So the Maya Partha has surrendered his intelligence to the world. So he will acknowledge the things of the world, he will acknowledge the ways of the world, he will acknowledge the values of the world, whatever current values are prevailing. His intelligence is stolen by the study of science, by the study of literature, by the study of philosophy. But various studies of Prakriti have stolen his intelligence away. Therefore, such a person who is absorbed in the Prakriti of the world through his intelligence now thinks that he knows everything. Such a person can never surrender to Krishna. The fourth type of person, Krishna says, who will never come to him, is Asuram Bhavam Ashritah, one who is partaking of the atheistic nature of demons. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in afterlife. They don't believe in the soul. They don't believe in the law of karma. They don't believe in the scripture. Yavat jivet, sukhat jivet, rinam kritva, gritam pibet, भस्मी भूतस्य देहस्य पुनर्जन्म कुत भवेत्. While you live, enjoy yourself. Even if you have to take a loan, rinam kritva, enjoy yourself. Ritam pibet, drink it. Bhasmi bhutasya dehasya. Your body is anyway going to become ashes. Punarajanama kuta bhavet. Who knows if there's another life? So these are the four types of people who should never be spoken to about Krishna, who should never be spoken to about the Bhagavad Gita. Because those who are imbeciles, who are idiots, who are grossly foolish, then those who are the most degenerate, the lowest among mankind. Then third, those whose knowledge is stolen by illusion. And finally, those who are openly atheist. These are all people who will never surrender to Krishna. So you should be aware of this and you should be conscious of this and don't go around trying to convince them about God. Tell them, yes, you are right. Nothing more to be said to them. The second type of person who is unlikely to come to Krishna is described in the Bhagavad Geeta in chapter 7, verse 20. Kamaisthaiste ritajnana prapadyante anya devata tam tam niyamamastaya prakritya niyata swaya. Those whose knowledge has been carried away by material desires, they surrender to the devatas. And following their own natures, they worship the devatas whom they are attracted to. And they perform the special rituals for those devatas to propitiate and to please those devata personalities. Now, this is an oft misquoted verse, so I'm going to stress this verse here, which is chapter 7, verse 21. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta shraddhyarchitam ichchati tasya tasya chalam shraddham tam eva vidadhamyaham. So whatever form a devotee wishes to worship with faith, Krishna says, I who is situated in his heart, I make that faith steady so that he has faith on that form. So whatever Devata's form or whatever form you imagine that is worth worshipping, you worship that form and God will make your faith steady on that form. You can do Santoshi Mata, you can do worship Sai Baba, you can worship this one, that one. There are n number of people who are lost in so-called deranged devotion to various forms of God. And all their faith is made steady by Krishna. And lest you think it is because he approves of that, it's not true. He does it simply because he is fulfilling your desire. So in 7.22 he says, Sataya Shraddhaya Yuktas Tasya Aradhanam Ihate Labate Cha Tatah Kaman Mayaiva Vihitan Hitan. Endowed with faith, that devotee worships that particular form and obtains the objects of desire. But in truth, I, Krishna, alone am fulfilling these desires and giving them these benefits. So you think you are worshipping this one or you think you are worshipping that one, but in truth, you are worshipping none other than Krishna. And in chapter 7, verse 23, Krishna points out, Antavattu phalam tesham tad bhavatya alpamedasam devan dev yajo yanti mad bhakta yanti mam api. But whatever they gain is perishable. For these people are people of alpa buddhi, of little intelligence. Those who go to the self devtas, they go to the abodes of the devtas, whereas my devotees come to me. Krishna points out, Abhrama bhuvana loka punaravartino arjuna mam upetya tu kauntya punarjanmana vidyate. All the way from Brahmalok downwards, the highest planet, you come back onto this earth, this Martyalok. But those who come to me, who come to Krishna, they never return. Yanti deva vrata devan pitran yanti pitarvata bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti madhyajno apimam. Krishna clearly says those who worship the devatas, they go to the devatas. Those who worship the pitris, they go to the pitris. Those who worship the ghosts and the spirits, they go to the ghosts and the spirits, the abode of the ghosts and spirits. But Krishna says, those who worship me, they come to me. And all those from Brahmalok downwards, they have to come back again into this earth. But those who come to me, they never return. He is also given elsewhere that Tetam Bhuktva Swargalokam Vishalam Shine Punya Martyalokam Vishanti. You perform all kinds of sacrifice, you give all kinds of charity, you give all kinds of things so that you will go to heaven. But when your punya is exhausted, then you have to leave that swarg and you have to come back again into this world. But those who are worshipping me, Krishna, they are permanently delivered from this cycle of birth and death and from this earth, which is a place of suffering. Then there are foolish people who think that Krishna was formless, that God is formless, and he has only assumed this personality. They don't understand the imperishable, exalted nature of this personal form. They say, हाँ ये Krishna ठीक है, लेकिन actually God is well beyond form. So that Krishna says is also going against him. He says clearly in chapter 7, verse 24, Avyaktam vyaktim apanam manyante mam abuddhaya. They're called abuddhaya. Param bhava ma jananto mam avyayam anutamam. The less intelligent think that I, the Supreme Lord, was formless earlier and only now have assumed this personality. They don't understand the imperishable, exalted nature of this personal form. Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavritah. Modo yam nabhijanati loko mam ajam avyaya. I am not manifest to everyone, being veiled by my divine yoga maya energy. Hence, those without knowledge do not know that I, Krishna, am without birth and changeless. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tatvata tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. So Krishna says, in the fourth chapter, that those who realize the divine nature of my appearance and activity, they don't come back here into this world again. But who realizes it? Is it only from the mouth that we say, or do we believe from the heart? To genuinely believe with every fiber of your being that that is Krishna, who is the Supreme Lord. The next verse, Krishna emphasizes, Veet, Raga, Bhaya, Krodha, Manmaya, Upashrita. When you have become expunged, when you have become purged of Raga, Dvesha, when you have become purged of all illusion, when you have performed Bahavo Tapasa, then only you can realize that Krishna is God and come to Him. Therefore, Krishna says in chapter 7, verse 26, Vedaham samatitani vartamanani cha Arjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kaschana. O Arjun, I know the past, I know the present, I know the future of all living beings. But me, Krishna says, nobody knows. Therefore, there are people who mock Krishna, who deride Krishna when he appears in human form. They do not know his transcendental nature and his supreme dominion over everything. In chapter 9, text 11, Krishna says very clearly, Avajananti mam mudha manushyam tanum ashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in human form. They mock me when I come in human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over everything that exists. And what happens to those who don't believe that Krishna in this form is God? What happens to them who mock Krishna and believe that it can't be Krishna, that God is in personal form? That's described in chapter 9, text 12. मोग आशा मोग कर्माणो मोग ज्ञान विचेत सह राक्षसीम आसुरीम चैव प्रकृतिम मोहिनीम आश्रितः. So those who are thus bewildered, mocking Krishna, not believing that Krishna is the form of God, are attracted by demonic and atheistical views. In that deluded condition, three things are destroyed: their hope for liberation, for moksha, for salvation, that hope is destroyed. All their activities where they are seeking fruit within the world, are also destroyed. And lastly, their seeking for knowledge, that is also destroyed. Moga asha, moga karmano, moga jnana vichetsa. Rakshasim masturim chaiva, prakritim mohinim. So this is what Krishna says, that those who mock Krishna in this form, they will be frustrated in their spiritual life, they'll be frustrated in their material life, they'll be frustrated overall. On the other hand, in 9.13, he points out the opposite kind of person who should be explained Bhagavad Gita, who you should discuss God with. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashritah bhajantya ananya manaso jnatva bhutadim avyayam. O son of Partha, those who are not deluded, the great soul, are under the protection of my divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. And in case, my friends, you have still not got it, again towards the end of the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 18, text verse 57, Krishna points out, after telling him that you must surrender unto me, that is the secret. In chapter 66, Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tam sarva papebhyo moksha ishrami masucha. After telling him to abandon all other varieties of philosophies and religion, specifically he is talking about the Shramana philosophy and the karmic karma religion, karma philosophy and karma religion. He points out that surrender only unto me. And having said that, he says, this is the secret, but don't give the secret to everyone. Idam te na tapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana na cha shushushvaya vachyam na cha mam abhyasuyati. This instruction of the Bhagavad Gita should never be explained to those who are austere, to those who are not devoted. It should not be spoken to those who don't want to hear, and especially not to those who are envious of me, those who hate Krishna. Yes, there are people who hate Krishna. You will find many people who hate Krishna. And therefore, it says, never tell this message of Krishna to any of these people. So, therefore, in conclusion to all of you, while speaking the Bhagavad Gita, by sharing this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to people who are devotees of Krishna, is the highest thing you can do. Ya idam paramam guyam mad bhakteshva bidashyati bhakti mai param kritva mam evashyati asanshaya. Those who teach this most confidential knowledge are most dear to me, and they perform the greatest act of love, and they will come to me without fail, without doubt. But, of course, needless to say, those who disobey the instructions of Krishna, because of some deranged person who tells you, go on, tell everybody about Krishna, tell everybody about Bhagavad Gita, are destined for a different fate. Therefore, please keep in mind what I have said today, that Bhagavad Gita and Krishna are not meant for everybody. And having excluded all these people from being taught this confidential knowledge, in Bhagavad Gita, there's confidential knowledge and then there is most confidential knowledge. So Bhagavad Gita is a confidential text. It is not a text meant for general distribution, because it is not meant for these people whom we have just discussed today. So with this, I will await your questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me now. Yes, in your comments or anything, you can write down your questions. All right. Hari Om, Jai Shri Krishna, Hare Krishna.